What's going on? TK coming at you with a simple question. What do you believe is possible? That's the question you have to ask yourself. What do you believe is possible? Because whatever you put your mind to becomes reality. So the reality of your life is what you project and what you send forward in terms of energy, action, thought, focus. So accept the life that you want. Project the results that you're looking for. And then go about what it takes to create that. So let's think about the details. Let's get into the nitty gritty. What does it take? What does it take for you to get from point A to point B? Your lifestyle of abundance has to come from somewhere. So, where does that come from? Well, the very first thing that you have to do is get to the point where you are shifting. I want you to change your mindset. I want you to shift and change from a debt mentality to an abundance mentality. And what I mean is everything that you've been taught up to this point programs you to be a slave. You're a serf, you're a debt slave. So I want you to get out of that mentality. Think about wanting something, a big ticket item, say a television. The first thing that comes to your mind within slavery is stepping into some sort of credit situation or immediately going into debt in order to acquire whatever that big ticket item is that you want. So change your mind, shift your attention, and now let's get into saving for that big ticket item. Personal example, I want a big screen TV as a gift to myself for Christmas. So I have my personal finances set up where all of my household bills comes from one check. So the second check I can do what I want with, to include buying a big screen TV. But let's say you go beyond step one, which is just saving for what you want instead of going into debt for what you want. Step two would be collateralize what you want with some sort of appreciating asset. Now let me give you an example of what I mean when I say collateralize what you want with an appreciating asset. That's how the rich stay rich, and that's what they teach their children to do, and that's what you're not typically taught to do. So a prime example would be Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, gave a situation where he wanted to buy a luxury Porsche. It was a vintage luxury Porsche, and I think it cost about $60,000. So he took $60,000 that he already had and he put it into a business, a storage unit. And then he took the profits within 6 months from that storage unit to buy the vintage Porsche. And then after he owned the Porsche, he still had the option to either keep the business or sell it. So that's what I mean by using collateral or collateralizing an appreciating asset to get what you want, to pay for a big ticket item. Another example in my personal life is the big screen TV. I thought about, well, I could just pull money out of my Bitcoin banking platform and use that to pay for the television. But I thought, I really have a lot of other investments going on, so it's probably more important to spend the money on business instead of spending it on the television. And then I just take my structured paycheck, save 2 paychecks, and buy the TV outright. So I outlined 2 steps here. Using a asset that accumulates in value to leverage against whatever big ticket item you're trying to buy, or being disciplined enough to save using your paycheck from work, and then actually pay for the item that you want. But what I'm encouraging you to do is get out of the mindset of big ticket item debt, because that's what you've been taught. So if you shift your mindset into an abundance way of thinking, and you do what the super rich do to stay rich and what they teach their children to do, then it would make more financial sense if you was to elevate to using an accumulating asset for your big ticket item purchase. So here's another simple example with the house. Let's just say you want a $250,000 house from a custom home builder in Dallas. Okay, so the first thing that you've been taught is to take a 30-year mortgage from a underwriter that's going to collateralize that mortgage with your future wages, and basically type some numbers on a computer and not give you any equal value in the loan, which technically voids the loan and makes it a contract that's not enforceable. So let's get away from that, and let's instead take $250,000 that you already have and collateralize it with putting that $250,000 into 50% gold and silver, with the ratio being 60% silver, 40% gold, and then the other 50% into Bitcoin. And then you're going to get a 10-year or 15-year mortgage through an angel investor agreement. Whereas the investment returns from that 15-year gold, silver, Bitcoin that you're collateralizing the loan with will outweigh the usury interest that you're going to be charged on the 15-year mortgage. And then on top of that, you take that angel investor mortgage and you make at least one extra payment every year, which goes straight to principal. And then every payment, you're going to take a fixed amount over the payment and demand that that overage goes straight to principal. So your overage every time you pay your mortgage is going to readjust the amortization rate, and the payment to principal that you're going to do once a year is going to take that 15-year mortgage down to 10 years. So that's another example. And that's another example in terms of moving out of the debt mindset and moving into an abundance mindset, where you're operating from what you, 1, feel that you deserve, and 2, believe that it's possible. Because that's the change that we really have to switch to. We have to switch to not being slaves within the matrix and actually taking control of our own finances and our own destiny and our own lives, and then being able to focus and create whatever we want. Really being able to change lives with implementation processes that work. Actually giving you keys to the castle that allow you to open the financial doors so that you can no longer be a slave with a foot on top of your neck. So, well, how is all that possible? What are you talking about? I'm talking about you actually doing something financially smart that puts you ahead of the game. I'm talking about you actually using strategies that the super rich use to stay ahead of everyone else. I'm talking about you actually becoming financially literate and passing on that financial literacy to other people so that each one reach one and that we all elevate together. I'm talking about the opportunity for people to rise as a community, as a whole, and truly be able to step beyond the greed, selfishness, and Western mentality of it's about me. I'm talking about using money as a tool to open doors. Now, what you choose to do from this point is totally up to you, but I truly am attempting to inspire minds and help people in a way in which they can make a difference in their own financial future. Just by making different decisions, just by looking at life from a separate set of lens. What were you taught about money? How do you control your finances right now? Are you a debt-based or are you an abundance-based? There's a major difference. So we have to change. And change begins with the way you see things and what lens you put on a day-to-day basis. So I want to leave you guys with the prime position or the prime opportunity to make your money get a job, to make assets become your best friend, and to truly transition with the economic world that's already transitioned. And I hope that in reaching out to you guys, your mind begins to expand. Your knowledge base begins to grow. And then we can, as a community, help each other and lift each other up. Think about the Ubuntu movement, the community-based microfinance. That's always been the strength of any economy. When people band together, create unity, and move out of this Western mentality of self.